Well, welcome to our session on creating transformative professional learning with technology. Today, we're just going to share with you some of the things that we're doing in our district and share with you how we started essentially with nothing in terms of technology PD. About 2 years ago, we had no technology PD in our district. It was something, we didn't even have anyone to provide technology professional development in our district. And since then, we have really created a robust professional learning environment across the district. And with that, we have really created a lot of access for our teachers in terms of devices as well as wireless connections. So we want to share our story with you, share the things that we're doing that we find have found to be successful. So not all of it has been successful. We're learning and things that we want to do to move forward. And the other thing that we'll share with you is kind of give you some tips on ways that you can leverage the different resources that you have available to you and to help fund some of the initiatives to move things forward. Before we get started though, how many of you are classroom teachers? Okay, how about site principals or administrators? And then district staff? Okay, county staff? Anyone from county office? Okay, great. That gives us an idea of who our audience is. My name is Kim Harrison. I am the Director of Technology in Washington Unified, which is located in West Sacramento. And my position is a little unique in that I oversee both the IT department as well as the ed tech department. And it's something it's fairly new in the industry that tech directors oversee both sides of the house. Historically, you had an IT director and perhaps maybe an ed tech coordinator or specialist, someone who did the ed tech training. And it's really nice and has really benefited our district in having both of those pieces of technology under one person, under one department. I've been in my position since May of last year, so relatively short time. And when I came to the Q conference last year, I was actually in Melissa's position.
And so I'm Melissa Oliver. I am the coordinator of instructional technology in Washington Unified, and I transitioned into this position in July from a TOSA curriculum and instruction position. And so when we were designing this presentation, we did the requisite who we are slides. We decided to do a Venn diagram because we're both teachers at heart. But in doing so, what it really highlighted is that the commonalities that we share have really informed our PD plan for the last year. In particular, we're both members of the Instructional Leadership Corps, which if you haven't heard of this and you are in California, Instructional Leadership Corps, it's moving on into its third year. It's a partnership between California Teachers Association as well as Stanford, their National Board Resource Center, as well as their Scope Center. And so they do a lot of work with Linda Darling Hammond, and it's really designed to provide teacher-led, teacher voice in terms of professional development for implementing the new standards. So there's about 280 teachers throughout California and a handful of administrators like ourselves that are really trying to transform professional learning into something different. And so that's really informed our practice, as well as last summer we went through the Leading Edge Professional Learning Leader program together, and that allowed us to really spend some time to developing what we're going to share with you today. And how we knew we were on the right track. Got this little meme here. I wish this was something we actually captured, but August 12th last year, we, for the first time in our district, put on a teacher university. It was an optional PD day prior to the first day of school, and there was 12 different sessions being offered. The superintendent came, did a welcoming address to all the teachers in the cafeteria gym, and when the teachers were dismissed to go to their various sessions, this is actually what we saw. We were kind of in disbelief because literally teachers were running. They started walking, and they started walking faster, and then they started running to the library where our technology PD sessions were. And I mean, it looked like a Black Friday frenzy sale. And so we knew we were onto something good, and we were meeting the needs of what our teachers wanted in our district.
So a little bit about Washington Unified. We are a K-12 district. We have one comprehensive high school, which has about 2,200 students, and one alternative high school. We have 7 K-8 schools and 1 K-5. And we have about 7,500 students that we serve. We also have about 415 certificated staff, and since August, between Melissa and I, mostly Melissa, we have trained 68% of that staff. So quite a substantial number, and a lot of those folks have done repeat trainings with us. You know, there are a number of them that have only come to the August event, but there are quite a few that have come back repeatedly for our trainings that we offer. Last year at this time, we did not have Wi-Fi in our district. We did not have any mobile carts except for old C-STEM laptop carts that our teachers used for our C-STEM program and our robotics program. And we rolled out probably 25 to 30 carts at spring break last year, and have added more carts in September. And I'm getting ready to order another 1,000 Chromebooks, another 30 carts before the end of the year. So we really have ramped up. We're basically, when you factor in all student devices, including those old PC laptops and some of our old labs, we are at 2 to 1 in our district. And we've been able to do that in less than a year. We also rolled out our GAF environment. We piloted it last year with our program that we call our Innovative Educators, which are our pilot teachers for our one-to-one. They also piloted our Chromebook carts as well as some Windows 8 devices and gave us some great feedback. And we're gonna share a little bit about that program with you guys today and how we kind of structured it. And then we rolled out the GAF environment district-wide in August at the same time that we rolled out our wireless. So we've really—
It's been a busy year.
We really have been very busy, and but it's been a real positive experience. We've had some hiccups, but for the most part, our teachers are doing amazing things. Our kids are doing amazing things. So it has been, it's been a good start, to say the least.
And so one of the things in terms of rolling out and changing the environment and culture in our district, because I had been in our district since 2002 as a teacher, and we've been relatively tech deprived, as Kim said. Our major goal is to really improve student learning, and we know in order to do that, what we needed to see is classroom changes, and that could be physical changes. It could be just in terms of changing the mindset from the rows and this environment we have right here in front of us, a learning environment, to really moving away from the textbooks, moving away from the No Child Left Behind pacing guides and things like that. And so we knew we needed to have those classroom changes in order to improve student learning. And in order to have those classroom changes, we really need to create new behaviors in terms of our teachers. And it's not, it's a sense of creating different behaviors, knowing that our kids are capable of making these decisions, are capable of directing their own learning, and if we give them the opportunities to do that. And if these are the things we needed to see, we knew that the foundation of that truly is professional learning. And so that has been the focus of a lot of our work, but it's not, we need more than that, as Kim will reiterate.
Yeah. So my philosophy, and I've been doing professional development for about 12 or 13 years as a county professional developer as part of CTAP before CTAP disappeared, and then just in the district for the last 2 years. And my philosophy is that professional learning is really like a three-legged stool. And one of the things that we typically in professional learning, and you may have experienced this, where you go and you learn about the newest tool. And it could be, I'm going to a session on YouTube, or I'm going to a session on Google Docs, and you learn how to YouTube, how to do YouTube. We do have sessions on tools, but that's only one part of it. To have powerful professional learning that's going to actually impact classrooms, it has to be more than just a how-to. Teachers need to understand how it affects their instruction, how it impacts their classroom, and how they can actually blend that with their content. My philosophy, since I started in the ed tech field, has always been technology is nothing but a fancy pencil. It's the same kind of tools like paper and pencils and crayons and chalk, if you started when there were chalkboards. It's just a tool. And how you use it in the classroom is where the impact is. And that's how when we do a professional learning with our students or with our teachers, we treat them like students. And we talk about, this is a tool, this is how you can use it with the classroom. Because we don't differentiate in terms of we only do training for third grade teachers, we only do training for fifth grade teachers, we invite everybody. And we will have a pre-K teacher with a calculus teacher in our trainings. We have to have that pedagogy and we have to have that content, that curriculum. They are the curriculum experts in the room. Melissa and I both have taught. It's not that we don't know content. We're both teachers at heart. But they are the ones who know their content forward and backward. And they know what good teaching is. When we talk to them about how the tools that they are being introduced with goes hand in hand with that pedagogy that they know and they're using in their classroom. And you have to have the pedagogy and the content with the tools. You also have to have the infrastructure, the environment in order to do the tools and the content. And in our district, that's something that we're definitely working on. For example, you can go to the best professional learning, and I know that you all have gone to some amazing stuff over the last couple of days. And I know you're going to go back to your districts and say, I want to do this tomorrow. And you could possibly go to your IT department and they'll say, nope, we're not going to unblock that tool. Or nope, we don't have the ability to do that. And you may have to jump through 3 or 4 hoops to be able to do what you know is right for the classroom because you saw examples of what other teachers are doing around a tool and the content. You have to have that infrastructure in place. An example in our district, I don't know about you guys, but we're having a lot of trouble with YouTube. We have some bandwidth issues in our district. We have a 100 megabyte connection between ourselves and the county office for a district of 9 different attendance sites, 7,500 kids, and we just put 3,000 more devices on our network. We're having some serious bandwidth issues. Between our school sites, it's 50 megabytes. So when all of our teachers are online doing their amazing stuff that they want to do with their kids because they learned about it at a conference or from us, they're seeing a real bog down on our network. It usually taps out and saturates at about 10 a.m. And so we know that we don't do YouTube trainings in our district because that's not a tool that the teachers and the students are going to have a lot of success with in the classroom.
Currently.
Until we also want to, one of the things that what I have done, because I do oversee that IT side, is trying to get my IT guys to see that the decisions on the network that are made about technology, the impact it has on classrooms, that our focus, our goal, our purpose for being in the district is to serve kids. And we have to do what we need to do to serve kids. So one of the things that I've been able to do is put in a temporary solution. We've gone out for E-rate to increase our bandwidth for our wide area network, and we'll be awarding that contract at the board meeting next week. And by the time we start school next year, we'll have 1 gig connections between all of our sites. We're also looking at upgrading our infrastructure. Our switches in each of our school sites only go up to 100 megabytes. So we can have the fastest highway in, but if they can't disaggregate the bandwidth to our classrooms at a fast speed, it doesn't do us any good. So we're looking at upgrading a lot of our infrastructure and using that E-rate platform to be able to do that. But the key that I want to share with you is when you go back to your district office or your school site and you have all these great ideas that you learned here, these are some of the questions you want to start asking is, what is the infrastructure in my district? Where are we at? What can I do? Because there's nothing more frustrating as a teacher to come to something, learn something really cool, go back and it works at home, and then you go into your classroom and it doesn't work because that tool was blocked. And I would say that most IT departments, if they have an understanding of the importance of how it impacts kids, and they are a little more willing to lift any filters or blocks that they have on some of the content. So one of the guiding questions as we design professional development, we keep those 3 things in mind, but this is our question that we ask ourselves. What do we want our classrooms to look like? And that's how we design our professional learning. That's how we build our networks. That's how we make decisions about technology purchases. So what I want you to do right now, because we've been talking at you, take 3 or 4 minutes, turn to a shoulder partner. If you're an island, move together, become a continent, and share what do you want your classrooms in your district to look like? What do you want your kids doing? I'll give you a couple of minutes to share. Yes. It needs to be everywhere. So technology in every subject. Maybe do away with technology
for math teachers and technology for, beyond the computer lab.
Yeah. And we kind of have this personal vision of getting rid of computer labs so that you don't go do technology in the computer lab, you have the technology just part of how we do business. Yeah, we're not quite there yet. Our
Baby
culture's
steps.
not ready for us for that quite yet. Okay, any other ideas? Yes?
So I'd like to see kids working independently at their own level and deciding what is the best use of their time.
Yes, so a little bit of student choice. So he said having students working independently at their own level and being able to decide how to use their time. Okay, good. Yes?
And I'd like to see more students collaborating asynchronously as well.
Yes.
So being able to share their learning, even if they're not in the same subjects at the same time.
So she said, in case you can't hear in the back, she'd like to see students learning and collaborating asynchronously, so it doesn't have to be that they're all in the same document at the same time, but it could occur over time where they have access and can collaborate and work together.
So even some projects that might span more than one classroom.
Yeah. Projects that span more than one classroom or even more than one subject.
Or more than one school.
More than school.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of the things that we were trying to get our teachers to do is you can be at different schools in the district. We're a walled garden, so our kids can't go really outside the district, but there's absolutely no reason that a 6th grade teacher at one end of town can't be doing collaborative projects with a 6th grade teacher at another school site. So all good ideas, all great ideas, because it's really about that student engagement, student choice, teachers willing to take risks, teachers feeling comfortable to take risk, and that's been probably one of the key things with us, is getting them like, you can do this, being their biggest cheerleader and offering them that support.
So we went through a similar process in terms of envisioning what we want our classrooms to look like, as well as we went through this process for ourselves, and this is part of the PLL leading edge certification. Like, what are those things that we value as a technology team? And these were the things that were really important for us. And so transparency in decisions and communication. Kim sends out a tech update every week. We have, I maintain our WSD EdTech blog to constantly repost things or post our decisions. We have a district technology advisory committee. All of that notes are online, completely visible. It's really important for us to have teacher voice as well as student choice. So we do this through surveys, we have focus groups. Last year, as part of our Innovative Educator pilot, our teachers got their devices for about 6 weeks at the end of the year. We went in and every single student we surveyed about the things that they did and about how they felt about school. And we had about 1,100 student voices. And that was really, really, really powerful from first grade through 12th grade in terms of our decision making moving forward and what we needed to do for professional learning. Right now, we've partnered with Bright Bytes to get even a higher level of data collection, and we're in our midst of our first data collection right now. Collaborative partnerships are really important. I mentioned before, our ILC partnership has been very critical in terms of our success to build those bridges with our union and with our teacher members, as well as we're starting to build bridges with different departments. So starting to work closely with our ELD department. We have about 60% of our student population are English learners. So we don't want to provide tech PD just for the sake of tech PD, but we want to branch out and coach principals as well as other department heads on how they can integrate technology in terms of their training. Creating this culture of continuous growth, visibility. We try to highlight our teachers. I just did a presentation at the 10 o'clock hour, and I was highlighting like the amazing work our kids are doing, and it's as a result of their teachers taking their risks and being willing to share. And Kim mentioned before, just even though we've had this really rapid ramp up, we've tried to do it very strategically and go with our early adopters. So those teachers that are part of our Innovative Educator program, they have applied to be part of it. They had to have a plan of how they were going to use technology, and it was part of our vision of what classrooms look like, because we didn't want it to be, basically digital worksheets or drill and kill. We want our students to be creating and provide that differentiated learning for them. And so those were things that we really took to heart in terms of planning our professional learning and our actions that we do. And we try to go back to this to make sure that we're doing enough. And through that process, we came up with the following vision for our department and for our professional learning, that our goal is to create a community of connected educators and digital leaders who use 21st century instructional methods to create student-centered classroom. And so this has guided our decision making, because we realize there's basically we're a department of two, and sometimes Kim gets buried in the IT stuff, so I'm a department of one in terms of the ed tech side, and we can't do it alone. So we're really trying to build the professional learning networks of our teachers, so they know that they don't always have to come to us. And in terms of digital leaders, working with our administrators, we're training now classified staff, and our secretaries have been amazing in terms of adopting Google Apps, because they've been able to streamline their work, and they're bringing more and more people on board. And so that's been a recent development that has worked really nicely for us. And so for our planning our PD plan, we looked at these 5 research-based principles. Principle number 1 is about PD cannot be one and done, and that's typically how we've done it in the past. And so one of the things that we have tried this year, and it's been very successful, is to do cohort-based professional development. So we have 3 different modules that we've been running. One is related to learning and innovation skills using Google Drive. One is related to digital citizenship and digital literacy, and one is related to social media, again, going back to our vision statement. And those are 4 sessions. So teachers will come to the first session, learn something new, be able to apply it to their particular subject area. A month later, they come back and they reflect on what they did in their classroom. And then they learn something to layer on top of it. And it's that cycle that has been very successful, and it goes to principle number 2 because we have a technology TOSA who couldn't be here today because he's on his way back to the airport with the rest of our team. But teachers need that job-embedded support. It's not enough to come to the district office, and they need it in their classroom. So we have a technology TOSA who's amazing, who will go out and support teachers as well as we will as time allows. And then the other thing that's really hallmark in terms of our trainings is playtime, is what I call it, because our teachers will learn something new and it's like, okay, now I want you to play, because then they can experience the tool or what we're teaching, and as they're doing it, they're thinking about, okay, how can I apply this into my teaching, and then giving them that time to reflect with one another of how they can take that back to their classroom and then return a month later with some artifacts of what they've done with students. And as Kim mentioned before, it's been really powerful to have, TK teachers next to high school calculus, because it's really helped break down the barriers in our district, because we've been very siloed, and it's promoted some really rich conversations and different perspectives, because the unifying principle is that the technology is all new for all of our teachers, and so it doesn't really matter at this point what subject they're in. And so there's been some really great collaboration through that process. And all of our modeling is super important, so we always do that. And as Kim mentioned earlier, we go through a process where teachers experience whatever we're teaching as learners themselves, because we think that's important. And so that's the modeling. 5, we're not ready for. Just because, again, technology is so new that, we're not ready for that. I can see this in 2 years where we can do and be more specific and build the capacity of our teachers to do, okay, here's what it looks like in math, here's what it might look like in social studies. And in the process of our innovative educators, we're building those leaders who are going to be able to lead that.
So this question is, how does the professional learning you receive or provide compare to these principles? And what we've provided in this this slideshow,
If you go to the next slide.
yes, is a template that you can actually click on and make a copy. And what we'd like you to do is to kind of sit and ponder for a moment, read each of these principles, and definitely make a copy, and determine kind of the professional development, the professional learning you're receiving. How does it kind of rank as it relates to these principles? Is it something that you always get? Is it sometimes, or is it never? So just, that's kind of the row that we want you just kind of to think about. And if you have a mobile device and you have made a copy, if you just want to make notes in there about where you or your district is at, we'll give you a minute.
Because we would love to hear how some of you are meeting Principle 1 or Principle 2, other creative solutions, and kind of crowdsource that as well.
So kind of take a minute and take a look. Did you want to talk about partnerships?
So these are some partnerships, knowing that we can't do it alone. We haven't had time to build out online systems to provide it, and so we've partnered a lot with CUE as well as with the ed tech team, and sending a bunch of our teachers as well as some administrators to conferences. So part of our PD budget, it's almost like $100,000 in terms of technology, has been set aside so that we can send teachers to these things so that they can have that choice and pick the sessions that they want. We sent about over 60 teachers this year just to the GAF summits that were in our local area. We brought a team of 6 teachers as well as 1 administrator here with us to Palm Springs. We take a few more to Fall Q because it's closer and it's cheaper, and sending some of our teachers to Rockstar, and with the expectation that when teachers attend this, they come back and they share. We have teachers guest blogging for us. We have teachers leading staff meetings for us and sharing some of the things that they've learned, and building that teacher leadership capacity within our district based on attending these, because we can't alone meet all of their needs. And so this is one way for now that we help differentiate and provide more offerings that they need. But you may be thinking, like, that's great, Melissa, but how in the world do you pay for it? Because that thing's expensive. One of the things that we are leveraging is our educator effectiveness funds. Our district has I think it's like $1.9 million. For every single certificated staff, I think it's $1,400 that been provided from the state. So this is a great resource, totally dedicated for professional learning, that we can use within the next 2-3 years to fund some of these projects. We've also made sure that we have a strong voice in our LCAP and getting some of our monies there. And because we are such a high English learner population, we can also use some of our title funds have been paying for some of our conference travel as well. And also because our ultimate goal is, we want to be obsolete in a way in terms of providing the professional learning, because we want our teachers to take over it, and we want it to be more localized and more at the site level as opposed to the district level, so they can personalize it even more. So one of the things we launched this winter spring is what we're calling our tech learning tour. It's kind of like a road show, and it's our pilot teachers are offering 1-hour sessions on a topic of their choice at their school, in their classroom, with their devices, that's open to anybody in the district, and it is paid to a train. So we had one teacher did just an hour on screencast, one did an hour on making grading easier using Google Classroom. We have some coming up of getting ready for your first day in 16-17. And so those have been so far quite popular, and we're going to expand that next year. Gives our teachers a chance to get in front of one another and build that capacity and build that expertise, so they're not always coming to us because they know they have other folks to rely on, and build that connectedness that we were seeking as part of our vision. So that's been very successful. You want to add anything to that?
No, in terms of the funding, with our one-to-one devices, because we have added, 3,000 devices, and I'm going to try to add another 1,000 before the end of the year. We initially started our pilot with our Common Core funds, and we used that funds for our initial phase 1. Melissa kind of alluded to our innovative educators. They had to apply as a team, and they had to have a plan in terms of collaboration, what is their vision around technology, and kind of what is their technology expertise coming in. We actually scored those on a blind scoring process. We did it all through Google Forms, and were able to kind of find out who our top teams were. And then we looked at equity across the district. And we ended up funding 43 teachers, and I think it was about 20 teams. And they started with their carts last year at spring break. And the way that we do our innovative educator program is it's 1 cart per team for the first year. So they have to be able to collaborate and share and build in that collaboration. So these teachers had to share a cart between April and June of last year, and then in September, they started with their own cart. And and that round, that second phase of that pilot, I paid for that out of my technology budget. So we had about 37 teachers, 37 classrooms that started with a mix of Chromebooks and Windows 8 laptops and Windows 8 tablets. We have since pulled back every classroom that had tablets except for 2, because the teachers have discovered they don't like the tablets and they really want the Chrome environment. So we've been able to kind of pull those back and re-provision them for other programs. And that came out very clearly in our student data and our focus group that we did with this pilot group in June. In October, we launched our first cohort of innovative educators. These were our pilot teachers, and quite a number of them were here. Pretty much all of our teachers that we brought with us to the conference were our pilot teachers. And they are the ones leading the learning tours. In October, we did another opening of the applications. In the pilot, we had, I think, 73 applications. We selected 43. And it was really based on how much Common Core funding we had available. And in October, we opened it again for cohort 1. We had 93 applications, and we ended up taking 63. And how I was able to fund their carts is the K-12 voucher money. And we had $429,000 coming to our district that we were about to lose because folks in the past had not taken advantage of getting that reimbursement. I knew about it and I lobbied for it. I did the work to make sure we could come up with invoices that amounted to that amount. And we just got our check in February for $429,000. And so that paid for the first phase of cohort 1. Now I'm looking at the second phase, that 1,000 Chromebooks, that I'm gonna have to pay out of my technology budget. So we leveraged some of these one-time monies to bring that technology in and not have it come out of our budget. And the same with how we're sustaining our professional learning, looking at outside resources, so it's not necessarily coming out of our technology budget, because there's a lot of extra funding out there. We just opened our application for cohort 2 on Tuesday. And we will do a blind read. We have a scoring rubric. If any of you are interested in learning more about and having access to the kinds of things we've done around that, we would be more than happy to share with you kind of the communications we've sent out and the handouts we've provided and whatnot to do something similar if you're interested.
So we wanted to give you a chance. No, you have 5 minutes to think
to take home with you.
Yeah, like what are you? We go to these, you go to these sessions, you go to these conferences, and it's like, that now what? And so we want to give you a chance to actually process that. Now what? Like, what is that action plan? What is that next step? So if you're working on the template, you have that space. And then I also wanted to point out is part of our instructional leadership core focus is providing that reflection and providing that feedback loop in terms of professional development. So if you're interested in being part of the research collection that CTA and Stanford is doing around some of the professional learning that's happening throughout California by ILC members, you can complete the reflection survey in there, and we will follow up with you in a month and be like, hey, how's it going now? Have you tried anything new or things like that? If you are interested in learning more about the Instructional Leadership Core, the badge there is hyperlinked to information. They are looking for members for year 3. It's a great program to put out to your teachers to be involved in, and it's a great partnership that's happening throughout California, kind of great grassroots in terms of teacher-led professional development around Common Core, and it's a great network to be a part of. So if you click on that, that will take you to the link. I think the applications are due April 20th-ish. So, and if you have questions about the ILC, reach out to one of us, and we're happy to to provide that. And then kind of to close out, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to either one of us. There's a variety of methods. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Margaret.
And I'll end with what I always ask our teachers. Did you learn something new today? Yes. Good. Then we did our job.
Our job's done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your conference.